going on to recapping the way the functions are executed or the JavaScript engine runs, I'm going to actually simply remove this and tell you the flow of it, which is one line at a time. So I'm going to refresh this. And you see line number 5 got printed first, line number 8 second, and 15 third. It's not always the case that you will actually get this particular order, right? So let's say if I execute child, the child function, at the very top. Save. Now refresh. What is going to happen? We got line number 9, and then line number 6, and then line number 14. So let's take a look on how the flow of the code execution is happening. It's the same, but we just want to recap this in a more slightly complicated example. So the first thing happens is when the JavaScript engine looks at the code, it says, okay, I'm going to hoist all the functions and all the function declarations and all the variable declarations, and then it's going to start executing the code. So it comes over here on line number 1 and says, okay, b is equal to global, so it's going to set that value. And then it says, okay, this is some kind of function which doesn't get executed yet, so I'm going to ignore these lines, and I'm going to go to line number 13. It goes to line number 13 and says, okay, I need to run the function. So it goes, finds the function, and says, okay, I'm going to start executing this function. It comes over here and says, okay, I need to run child. So before going to line number 5, it's going to look for child, the child function, and run that. So it comes over here and finds it in its scope. It either finds it in its own scope or the outer scope. So it finds it within its scope because remember, function declarations are hoisted. So when it comes to line number 4, the engine already knows about child, the child function. So it executes this. So it runs this and says, okay, what is A? It says, okay, yeah, A is already defined, but since it's line number 5 has not run yet, it's still on line number 4. So it goes from line number 4 to the definition, which is on line number 8, and says, okay, I got to run this. A is not defined yet. It's hoisted, it exists in memory, but it has no value. So that's why it prints out undefined over here. And then comma B, it says, okay, what is the value of B? It looks for the value of B in its scope chain. So the word scope chain is now introduced. Scope chain simply means that this is the outermost scope, this is the one nested down scope, and this is one third scope inside. So it's a chain of scope, child, parent, child, parent, child. So it looks in its scope chain and says, okay, yeah, I know B. B is global. So it prints that. So that's why line number 9 is executed. All right. Once it's done with this particular function, it says, okay, I did that part on line number 4. Now I'm going to go to line number 5. Line number 5 says, okay, assign the value inside to A. So it does that. And then line number 6 runs. Get the value of A, which is inside. It prints that. And then value of B, which is, looks for that in the scope chain and finds it on the global level. So prints global. All right. And then it runs. It doesn't need to run anything else because this is just a definition of the function. So this function ends, right? And then goes to line number 14 and says, okay, print B. What is the value of B? Global, so it prints that. So that is a long explanation of a very important concept of scope, global scope, and the way the scope chain works. And the definition over here for scope chain is the nested hierarchy of scope is called the scope chain. That's pretty much it. I'm going to talk to you in the next video.